We have an exclusive report out of Ukraine. CNN got access to a weapon that Ukrainian forces are using in the Black Sea. They're sea drones, remote-controlled, extremely effective. That's video of one of them ramming a Russian ship.
This is Ukraine's latest sea, or surface, drone, designed to attack Russia in the Black Sea. They have severely limited the Russian Navy's movements.
A silent Ukrainian Alpha 111 sea drone ventures into the Black Sea at 4:12 a.m., 70 kilometers south of Odessa, gliding just inches above the water. Its stealth-optimized hull absorbs radar waves, and with only 4 inches of freeboard, it remains nearly invisible in sea clutter. Suddenly, a Russian Su-27, valued at tens of millions of dollars, roars into its path. The Alpha 111, costing less than a used car, sets the stage for an unthinkable confrontation. What came next shocked even military experts. How could such a low-cost drone annihilate a cutting-edge fighter jet? Stick around to find out. How can a vessel so small, so unassuming, cripple the dominance of the multi-million-dollar warships and sophisticated fighter jets that have defined naval power for decades? This is no futuristic fantasy. Instead, it's a quiet revolution. And at the heart of it is the Alpha 111, an autonomous sea drone designed for precision, stealth, and versatility. The Alpha 111 is not just a technological marvel. It is a symbol of how modern warfare is being rewritten. Part of a new generation of sea drones, the Alpha 111 exemplifies the shift from traditional military assets toward unmanned, cost-effective platforms. Small enough to evade detection while advanced enough to complete complex missions, it stands in stark contrast to the behemoth destroyers and fighter jets of the 20th century. Built with a stealthy electric propulsion system, the Alpha 111 cruises at 39 knots, skimming just 4 inches above the water. It operates without navigation lights and emits a near-zero thermal signature, making it almost invisible to radar and sound detection. Outfitted with state-of-the-art sensors, including high-resolution cameras for day and night operations, infrared systems for tracking heat signatures, and laser rangefinders capable of pinpoint accuracy, it transforms into a silent predator. These features are not simply enhancements. They redefine the Alpha 111's role in asymmetrical warfare, where its low profile and affordability create opportunities that once required fleets of manned vessels. What truly sets sea drones like the Alpha 111 apart is the cost-value disparity they bring to modern navies. For decades, naval dominance has revolved around high-value assets. Aircraft carriers the size of cities, intricate missile defense systems, and fighter jets capable of supersonic speeds. These assets cost billions of dollars to design, build, and operate. In stark contrast, deploying an Alpha 111 might cost a few $100,000, a significant investment, but negligible compared to the price of losing a fighter jet or damaging a warship. For example, adapting the R-73 missile for sea drone use costs under $100,000, while a single Su-27 fighter jet costs tens of millions. This cost asymmetry isn't just a financial calculation. It's a redefinition of strategic competition. For nations with limited budgets, drones offer a way to level the playing field, forcing even the wealthiest militaries to adapt. The Alpha 111's dominance isn't just theoretical. The value of unmanned systems has already been demonstrated in conflicts like Nagorno-Karabakh, where UAVs played a decisive role in neutralizing Armenian air defenses and armored units. These drones didn't just supplement Azerbaijan's forces. They dictated the outcome of the conflict by targeting high-value assets with precision and minimal risk. The same principle applies to sea drones like the Alpha 111, which exchange raw firepower and armor for stealth, intelligence gathering, and adaptability. This adaptability enables the Alpha 111 Su-111 to perform a stunning range of operations, from reconnaissance missions deep in contested waters to precision strikes on naval vessels. Its ability to silently loiter for hours or even days without revealing its position transforms it into an invisible predator. This strategic shift is significant not just because of the technology, but because of what it means for military doctrine. Traditional naval power has always been measured by the ability to project dominance, a capability symbolized by blue water navies and air superiority fighters patrolling critical sea lanes. Drones like the Alpha 111 flip that script. Instead of relying on size and overwhelming force, they focus on cloaked precision and tactical flexibility. This doesn't just weaken traditional systems, it makes their deployment inherently riskier. A warship or fighter operating in contested waters now faces the constant threat of being tracked, targeted, or hit by something it might never detect. The Alpha 111's specific design elements perfectly align with this new model of warfare. Its whisper-quiet electric motors make it undetectable by sonar, while the lightweight compact hull minimizes radar reflection, giving it an almost negligible radar cross-section. Advanced sensors allow it to lock onto multiple targets and identify weaknesses in real time, forcing adversaries to expend significant resources just to maintain vigilance. Historically, naval dominance relied on deterrence, overwhelming firepower that made combat theoretical. Drones like the Alpha 111 introduce an unpredictable, ever-lurking threat, shattering the illusion of total control. The Alpha 111's role in the Black Sea incident underscores how these dynamics are unfolding in real-world scenarios. While specific details remain undisclosed, the fact that it successfully tracked and countered a Russian Su-27 fighter jet highlights its capability. This isn't just a tactical success, it signals a broader transformation in naval tactics. An unmanned vessel neutralizing one of the world's most recognized fighter platforms exposes the vulnerability of high-value assets to asymmetric threats. Sea drones like the Alpha 111 represent a profound shift in how militaries approach power projection and sustainability in combat. These machines aren't just tools, they are statements, a demonstration that the decisive factor in modern warfare is no longer the size or capability of a nation's military, but how intelligently its assets are deployed. In contested waters like the Black Sea or other global choke points, low-cost, high-tech platforms are proving that even the most established powers must rethink their strategies. Control of the seas is no longer about who has the biggest guns or fastest planes. It's about who adapts the fastest, who thinks strategically amid uncertainty, and who incorporates tools like the Alpha 111 to shift the balance in their favor. But as drones continue to disrupt traditional power structures, what does this mean for the pilots of cutting-edge hardware designed to dominate these scenarios? For the Su-27s and warships caught off guard? These questions highlight vulnerabilities that militaries around the world must now confront. A perfect lead into the challenges facing the Russian Su-27 fighter in an age of small, invisible threats. Can an Su-27, one of Russia's most recognized symbols of air power, hold its dominance in an era shaped increasingly by drones? Built during the Cold War and still a cornerstone of the Russian Air Force, the Su-27 has been a mainstay for decades and remains a critical tool in Russia's arsenal. Designed as a versatile air superiority fighter, it is equipped with twin powerful engines that enable breathtaking speeds and combat agility. The jet can reach a top speed of Mach 2.35, giving it the ability to respond to threats with striking rapidity. Its design allows it to patrol vast maritime areas, making it an essential asset for Russian naval operations. The Su-27 is not simply a fast fighter. It carries an impressive suite of weaponry, including air-to-air and air-to-surface missiles, unguided rockets and bombs. Its radar system, paired with infrared search and track capabilities, enables it to detect and engage targets across long distances. These features make it a versatile guardian of Russian naval operations, especially in strategic zones like the Black Sea, where controlling sea lanes is paramount to both security and influence. Its deployment in such waters positions it as a tool not only for defense, but also as a demonstration of Russian power capable of projecting dominance in contentious, militarized spaces. But this robust arsenal runs into trouble when facing smaller, stealthier threats. Modern drones, like the Alpha 111, exploit technological gaps in systems built to counter traditional aircraft or large military vessels. The Su-27, for all its prowess, relies heavily on its radar, infrared, and thermal detection systems for situational awareness. These systems are highly effective against high-speed jets or noisy, heat-emitting targets like helicopters. However, the Alpha 111, with its quiet electric propulsion and minimal thermal signature, operates in stark contrast. The drone's ability to skim mere inches above the ocean surface creates radar-ground clutter, where detection becomes significantly more difficult, and its low thermal output further reduces visibility. The Su-27 was simply not designed to contend with such elusive technology. This limitation became painfully evident during the Black Sea incident. On a routine maritime patrol, the Su-27 was likely conducting a drone hunting sweep over waters approximately 70 kilometers south of Odessa. Such patrols are standard for the region, where Ukrainian and Russian forces frequently test each other's boundaries. The jet's radar would have been scanning the area for potential threats, prioritizing larger targets like reconnaissance aircraft or surface ships. While the pilot likely understood the general risks posed by unmanned systems, their attention would not have been on tracking a nearly silent surface-skimming vehicle operating at the edge of radar detectability. The Alpha 111 took full advantage of the Su-27's inherent vulnerabilities. Its design and sensors allowed it to close the gap unnoticed. By the time the Su-27 pilot visually identified the drone, it was already too late. This reliance on visual detection, particularly during low-altitude, low-speed flyovers, created an exploitable weakness. Unlike traditional threats that could have been intercepted from kilometers away, the Alpha 111 turned stealth into a weapon. It operated beneath the Su-27's technological envelope and landed its attack without being intercepted. While this incident represents a glaring vulnerability, it's important to recognize the Su-27's otherwise storied career. Since its debut in the early 1980s, it has gained international recognition for its role in conflicts, training exercises, and global power displays. The jet was one of the stars of the Soviet Union's late-era military achievements, capable of matching or surpassing contemporary NATO designs like the American F-15 Eagle. Its combination of speed, maneuverability, and long-range weaponry allowed it to dominate both dogfights and defensive operations. Over the years, the platform has been modernized to include better avionics, newer missiles like the R-77, and external jamming pods. Yet for all its upgrades, the Su-27 remains fundamentally a product of the analog era, designed for combat against other fighter aircraft, not adversaries as unconventional as autonomous drones. This incongruence is why the Alpha 111 represents something more than just a tactical victory for drone technologies. It strikes at the heart of a vulnerability shared not only by the Su-27, but by many fourth-generation fighters whose systems were optimized for peer-to-peer conflicts in traditional air combat roles. Speed, one of the Su-27's greatest assets in air-to-air combat, contributes to its disadvantage here. The plane's fast acceleration and high cruising speeds make it difficult to adapt to a slower, maneuverable, and harder to detect surface drone. By the time the pilot decreases their speed or aligns their visual targeting systems, the window for reaction has often closed. The vulnerability goes beyond hardware. Experts have criticized the incident as a failure of doctrine, not just technology. Standard operating procedures rely heavily on radar and electronic warfare systems to detect threats. But, as seen here, these tools can be bypassed, leaving pilots vulnerable to smaller, cheaper systems designed to exploit blind spots. The cost asymmetry between a multi-million-dollar fighter jet and a low-cost, autonomous sea drone adds another layer of concern. While the Su-27 needs an experienced pilot, complex maintenance, and logistical support to operate, drones require far less investment, creating a lopsided dynamic in engagements like these. The moment the Su-27 encountered the Alpha 111 in the Black Sea, it entered unfamiliar terrain. What began as a routine patrol ended with a loss that exposed the jet's vulnerabilities in clear terms. The combination of its radar reliance, challenges in low-speed maneuvering, and systems designed for traditional combat proved no match for the innovation embedded in the Alpha 111. It wasn't speed or firepower that decided this encounter. It was adaptation and stealth, two characteristics that modern technologies now prioritize. The incident unfolded under the cover of early morning darkness, roughly 70 kilometers south of Odessa. The Ukrainian Alpha 111C drone, equipped with an arsenal of stealth features and advanced sensors, quietly patrolled the Black Sea, its electric motors producing no detectable noise. The low-profile hull of the drone skimmed just above the water, a tactical advantage that rendered it nearly invisible to radar. Its movements were indistinguishable from the natural chop of the waves, a passive invisibility that allowed it to operate undetected in contested waters. This silent platform was a hunter, its prey a Russian Su-27 fighter jet conducting aerial sweeps in the same area. At approximately 4:12 a.m., Alpha 111's thermal imaging system identified two heat signatures creeping across the sky. A pair of Su-27s, engines glowing in the infrared spectrum. These jets were part of a routine patrol, likely sweeping the area for UAVs or other intrusions near critical Russian maritime zones. The Alpha 111 sensors, which included a daylight camera, a long-wave infrared detector, and a precision laser rangefinder, worked in perfect harmony. Without emitting any detectable signals, the drone tracked the approaching jet silently. Passive detection was key. The absence of active radar emissions meant that, to the Su-27s, Alpha A111 was nothing more than another low-temperature void in the vastness of the Black Sea. The targeting mast of the Alpha 111 began its work. Rising a mere 1.2 meters from the drone's flat surface, this retractable system was the nerve center of its intelligence-gathering capabilities, harboring its array of sensors. It located and measured the distance to the incoming Su-27s as one of the jets adjusted its course toward the drone's presumed location. The mast's precision laser rangefinder recorded the exact position of the lead aircraft at 1.68 kilometers. This process, from detection to lock-on, took only 2.5 seconds. The drone's hidden Ukrainian operators, stationed in a remote command van, triggered the mast's lift and silently coordinated the engagement, ensuring the Alpha 111 remained undetectable throughout. As the jet approached, Alpha 111's calculations were exact, guided by a mission profile that emphasized efficiency and precision. The Su-27, flying at a reduced speed of just under 400 knots for its reconnaissance pass, presented an amplified heat signature, its engines glowing brightly in the infrared field against the surrounding cool waters. This vulnerability was enough. Advanced onboard software issued firing solutions to the drone's mounted weapon, a modified R-73 missile. The significance of the R-73 lies in its origins. Originally designed as a Soviet-era infrared-guided air-to-air missile, the version mounted on the Alpha 1 had been adapted for a sea launch. Stabilizing cradles accounted for movement on the water's surface, ensuring the missile could lock onto aerial targets even in fluctuating conditions. With the firing sequence initiated, the drone unleashed the missile. Flying inches above the ocean, where radar was weakest, the Alpha 111 fired without warning. The R-73 missile, equipped with a proximity-fused warhead, climbed into the sky toward its intended target. The proximity fuse was a critical feature, designed to detonate near the target without requiring a direct hit. As the missile neared the Su-27's starboard engine, the fuse triggered, sending shrapnel through the aircraft's thin fuselage. Control surfaces were shredded and fuel ignited instantly, causing catastrophic damage. Flames consumed the outer parts of the wing, forcing the pilot to eject. The Su-27 spiraled downward, crashing into the sea moments later. The engagement, from first detection to the pilot's ejection, lasted fewer than 7 minutes. The Alpha 111, operating silently and with exacting precision, had managed to destroy one of Russia's most formidable fighter jets. Analysts have pointed out that success rested on more than the drone's weapons platform. Collaboration between stealth, sensors, and automated systems gave the Alpha 111 a near-invisible edge throughout the entire encounter. Every detail, the silent propulsion, the retractable mast, the passive sensors, capitalized on natural weaknesses in the engagement profile of a manned fighter jet. This incident has broader implications beyond a single tactical victory. It marks a stark shift in how naval and aerial power can be projected. A low-cost platform, such as the Alpha 111, far removed from the sophistication and expense of a Su-27 or similar fourth-generation fighter, depended on innovation over brute force. It exemplifies the expanding role of autonomous systems as disruptors in conventional military hierarchies. Militaries built around expensive platforms are being forced to contend with a profound asymmetry in engagement costs and technological focus. However, the challenges posed by drones like the Alpha 111 extend far beyond cost differences. Traditional fighter tactics rely on dominance through visibility, detecting, matching, and overwhelming adversaries. The Alpha 111 inverted those principles entirely. It was undetectable, asymmetrical, and designed to use the vulnerabilities of its opponents. In this clash over the Black Sea, it was not weaponry alone that achieved success, but the synergy of intelligence, technological precision, and operational stealth. What becomes clear is that engagements like these may soon become the rule rather than the exception, a fact that leaves traditional powers with significant questions about their doctrines and defenses. Modern fighter jets, built for air superiority and dominance at high altitudes, are increasingly outmatched by smaller, stealthy sea drones in certain scenarios. This is not due to a lack of technological sophistication, but rather a fundamental mismatch in how these platforms operate and detect threats. Sea drones, like the Alpha 111, exploit these gaps with precision, exposing the limitations of traditional air combat systems. At the core of this struggle lies one key factor: radar detection. Fighter jets rely heavily on radar to track and engage their targets. A radar system works by emitting signals that bounce off objects, allowing onboard computers to evaluate size, speed, and distance. However, this process becomes complicated when the target in question minimizes its radar cross-section, RCS. The RCS determines how detectable an object is to radar, and for sea drones, this value is intentionally kept extremely low. The Alpha 111 for example, uses a sleek, low-profile design crafted from materials that absorb radar waves rather than reflect them. Its small physical size amplifies its stealth characteristics, allowing it to remain undetected until it is visually identified, often only at dangerously close ranges. This design renders traditional radar technology inadequate, forcing fighter pilots to navigate with limited information. Detection becomes even harder due to where drones operate. Sea drones like the Alpha 111 hug the ocean surface, hiding in an area where radar signals are already less effective, the boundary between the sea and air. Known as radar clutter, this phenomenon is caused by radar reflecting off waves and the water's surface, creating additional noise that obscures smaller objects. The Alpha 111's low cube design and wave-skimming altitude, combined with its 4-inch freeboard, allow it to blend into this radar clutter, making it nearly invisible until it reaches visual range. This exploitation of sea surface noise, which degrades radar returns, gives the drone near-complete stealth. The problem doesn't end with detection. Even when a drone is visually identified, fighter pilots often find it difficult to engage effectively. This is due to another mismatch: speed and operating altitude. The Su-27, for instance, is engineered for supersonic speeds, capable of reaching Mach 2.35. These jets thrive in engagements that demand rapid acceleration, pursuit, and counterattack at high altitudes. In contrast, sea drones operate at significantly lower speeds, 39 knots in the case of the Alpha 111. While this sounds like a disadvantage in theory, it creates a practical nightmare for jets tasked with interception. A high-speed jet struggles to maintain accuracy when attempting to line up slower, more maneuverable targets. Reducing speed to engage a hovering or slow-moving drone introduces new risks. For example, exposing the jet to counterattacks or losing agility, which impacts its ability to evade threats. In the Black Sea incident, the Su-27 slowed down during its initial pass over what it might have suspected was the Alpha 111, but still couldn't respond effectively before it became the target of a missile strike. The drone's low speed afforded it the luxury of precision, while the jet's faster pace worked against its operational objectives. Furthermore, the Alpha 111's silent propulsion system reduces detection further. Many traditional detection mechanisms, such as acoustic sensors or sonar, are rendered virtually useless because the drone's electric motors create no detectable engine noise. Fighter jets, with their roaring engines and thermal exhaust, are designed for speed and air-to-air dominance, and thus are structurally unsuited for such low-profile engagements. A jet also creates a massive heat signature that thermal imaging systems on drones can easily track. The Alpha 111 exploited this during the encounter with the Su-27, locking onto the fighter jet's engine output using passive infrared technology. The drone carried out this lock-on without emitting radar signals of its own, meaning it couldn't be disrupted by standard electronic countermeasures. This introduces yet another challenge: the limits of traditional electronic warfare tools. Fighter jets equipped with electronic countermeasures systems are designed to disrupt radar and tracking technologies. These systems work by jamming enemy radar with signal interference or deploying decoys to mislead heat-seeking missiles. However, sea drones like the Alpha 111 use passive targeting systems, including infrared cameras, a laser rangefinder, and long-wave detectors mounted on an electro-optical mast. These systems do not actively emit signals that can be jammed or misleadingly reflected. Instead, they measure and track targets in a way that bypasses ECM defenses altogether. During the Black Sea incident, the Alpha 111 sensors quietly worked to analyze the Su-27's movements, resulting in a rapid lock-on that electronic warfare defenses were powerless to counter. Globally, this tactical disparity is not unique. past incidents reveal broader struggles military jets face against drones. For instance, during the conflict in Syria, small drones outfitted with camera systems frequently slipped past advanced Russian air defenses. In the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict, low-cost drones were critical in dismantling deployed armored units, bypassing traditional missile defenses entirely. Each of these cases underscores the difficulty in combating platforms designed to minimize detection and counter traditional military strength with unconventional approaches. The rise of sea drones now brings this reality to naval and aerial theaters. The implications are clear. Fighter jets, which once symbolized unrivaled control of the skies, are increasingly vulnerable to newer, more adaptive adversaries. The Alpha 111's success in the Black Sea shows that it's no longer enough for air superiority platforms to rely on speed, radar, and traditional countermeasures. New strategies, combining updated detection tools and modified engagement doctrines, will be necessary to bridge the widening gap. The challenge is no longer about developing bigger, faster, or louder machines. It's about evolving to counter threats where invisibility and precision rule the battlefield. This incident forces military leaders to re-evaluate traditional assumptions about aerial and maritime superiority. The broader implications could reshape global combat doctrines where drones, once underestimated, now guide the future of warfare planning. The Black Sea incident, where the Ukrainian Alpha 111C drone successfully neutralized a Russian Su-27 fighter jet, marks a profound turning point in naval warfare. It is a vivid demonstration of how modern conflicts are no longer dictated by the traditional metrics of firepower, speed, and size. Instead, they are increasingly shaped by innovation, adaptability, and the cost-effectiveness of unmanned systems. This single event challenges conventional doctrines and demands a rethinking of air and sea combat strategies on a global military scale. At its heart, the engagement highlighted the capabilities of asymmetric warfare. Sea drones, small in both size and budget, disrupt the assumption that only massive investments in aircraft, ships, and advanced weapons guarantee military superiority. The Alpha 111, an affordable and expendable platform, managed to outwit and destroy a multi-million-dollar Su-27 fighter jet. A weapon costing less than $100,000 toppled an asset worth tens of millions, underscoring a new era where affordability and innovation trump brute force metrics. The stark cost disparity is impossible to ignore. A fighter requiring millions of dollars in maintenance, training, and operational logistics was defeated by a machine operating at a fraction of that cost. This marks the rise of a type of warfare where economic efficiency plays as critical a role as tactical skill. Such affordability does more than reduce costs. It tilts the balance of power. Smaller nations, often excluded from military dominance due to budgetary constraints, can now challenge larger powers capable of fielding advanced jets and warships. The Alpha 111's success underscores this shift. By fielding fleets of cheap, versatile drones instead of investing in expensive platforms prone to devastating losses, smaller states level the playing field. The growing accessibility of both the technology and the expertise required to operate unmanned systems only accelerates this trend. The incident has become an undeniable case study in how innovation trumps brute strength. Drone warfare is not merely an alternative strategy, but an evolving doctrine reshaping global defense policies. Militaries worldwide are now being forced to reassess their defense infrastructure in response to this event. If something as relatively inexpensive as the Alpha 111 can destroy one of Russia's most iconic fighter jets, what does that mean for other high-value assets? Naval vessels, surveillance aircraft, and even ground units now face increased threats from unmanned systems. This current weakness in countering drones has triggered a wave of military investment in more advanced detection systems and countermeasures. Recent examples highlight this growing trend. NATO has fast-tracked radar improvements to detect low RCS radar cross-section sea drones, addressing the challenge of distinguishing them from environmental noise like waves or birds. Major powers such as China and the United States have accelerated investments in anti-drone technologies, including high-energy lasers and electromagnetic disruptors. These advancements aim to neutralize drones before they can execute their missions, but each system requires significant funding, training, and integration into existing arsenals. The Black Sea incident has forced governments to acknowledge how crucial it is to intercept these threats early, as engaging them mid-mission may no longer be viable. The strategic implications extend beyond military hardware. This engagement suggests a cultural and doctrinal shift within armed forces worldwide. The conventional expectation that large military assets secure control over contested zones is no longer reliable. Navies that once prided themselves on aircraft carriers and fighter jets find themselves at a disadvantage against fleets of expendable, easily modified drones. The Alpha 111 is a case in point, demonstrating how low-profile machines can consistently outmaneuver legacy platforms laden with expansive support requirements. This adaptability makes drones like the Alpha 111 all the more lethal. Sea drones excel in both offense and flexibility. A modular design allows different payloads to be loaded depending on the mission. Torpedoes, electronic jammers, or surveillance equipment can all be swapped with minimal effort. These drones can loiter in hostile zones, collect actionable intelligence, and engage in precision strikes, all of which traditionally required manned surveillance and strike teams. Their relatively low cost also enables nations to deploy them in numbers, effectively overwhelming adversaries and saturating defenses. In many ways, fleets of drones act less like traditional military hardware and more like tactical tools of attrition. The Black Sea clash also offers insights into modern information warfare. The Alpha 111 was not only a combat weapon, but also a tool of strategic communication. Its Starlink uplink transmitted combat data, including FLIR, forward-looking infrared footage and targeting logs, in an emergency burst, ensuring undeniable evidence of the strike even as the drone faced imminent destruction. This use of real-time data ensured Ukraine had indisputable proof of the engagement, solidifying the incident's importance on the world stage. Beyond tactical purposes, this capability ensures international visibility and narrative control, now critical components of modern warfare. The incident ultimately illustrates the beginning of a new chapter in naval warfare. Sea drones have emerged as a key disruptor, capable of undermining high-tech, high-cost militaries using stealth, precision, and adaptability. This wasn't simply a loss of a fighter jet. It was a recalibration of what military dominance looks like. The question now is not whether drones will play a vital role, but how nations like Russia and their adversaries will adapt to this growing threat. The Black Sea incident reveals that innovation now outweighs raw firepower in modern warfare. A sea drone, equipped with silent electric propulsion, passive sensors, and a less than $100,000 missile, neutralizing a multi-million-dollar Su-27, underscores how asymmetric threats render traditional military systems vulnerable. This engagement delivers a strategic wake-up call. Global militaries must adapt their doctrines to counter unmanned systems, redefining combat strategies at sea and in the air. What do you think older military doctrines must change? Let us know in the comments below. If you found this analysis eye-opening, hit like and subscribe for more deep dives into modern warfare innovations